Love you, Mummy. Hi ho, welcome to the second part of Chip and Guardian's Adventures. Chip stopped smoking. Okay, so the first part I told you how I used the equipment around me to help me stop. So it was the vape, the chewing gum, and that's it. Now, if you've started doing it and you've brushed your teeth and you've put the gum in and everything that I said in my last video, is it working? Comment down below and let me know, because it'll not work for me. And then maybe I could figure something else out. Now, second, there's plenty of stop smoking clinics about. There's plenty of, you phone your doctor and say, hey, I want to give up. They're all coming. They'll come. They'll help. That's what they're there for. But again, the first thing you've got to say to yourself is, have I got to stop? Should I stop? Or why not stop? See, most of us put too much on what we do. As human beings, we always put a lot into what we do. We always fear what we hear and don't know. So here's our problem, okay? Now, with stopping smoking, most of the fears of the withdrawal, people say. But I believe the fear of stopping smoking is losing a friend. It's almost going through a bereavement. Let me explain. When you're at your lowest or your saddest, what's the thing you go for? Is it the phone to phone a friend? Is it a drink of water? It's your cigarette. What's the last thing you say goodnight to before you go to bed? Your cigarette. Because I'll just have one before I go to bed. What's the first thing you say hello to when you wake up? Your cigarette. What's the one thing you take everywhere with you? Your cigarettes. So it becomes like your best friend. It's almost like it's with you. Yeah, constantly. And whenever you're down, depressed, alone, they're always there for you, right? When you've just enjoyed or celebrated a great big nice meal, who do you celebrate it with? Your cigarette. So they pretty much are going to be your best friends. So when we're starting to stop, we're starting to lose our friends. We're starting to lose our friend. You know, one of them friends that is a pain in the arse, that everyone in the world tells you they're no good for you. But yet you have a certain friendship that no one understands. You know, when you're crying and alone. They're there, comforting you. That's the way I saw it. My cigarette was my best friend. You know, no one else could comfort me, but it could. When I was having a panic attack, I'd light up and halfway through, it'd go. It wasn't until I realised that actually it was me breathing in and out was calming me. And the fact is that it was helping having the nicotine. But we're not stopping the nicotine as we're stopping smoking. That's not the bad part. We're just stopping the toxins in our body. We're just stopping the smell. We're just stopping all the dirt and the ashtrays and the burns in our brand new tracksuits and burns on the bed and on the pillow and everything like that. Right? Right. So we need to understand that we're going to go through a bereavement. We're going to lose the one thing that's stable in our life. Whether we're sick, whether we're sad, no matter what, it's there. Comforting, being there, celebrating, it's there. Socially, it meets others. So you get a sense of, I'm losing something. You're going to go through a bereavement. So you've got to accept that. You've got to say, we're breaking up. But you see, it is easier to break up or go through a bereavement if it's a longer term than if it's shorter. See, sometimes when something happens too fast, that's when you can't get over something. That's when it's, I shoulda, coulda, woulda. But as you're going through the process and you're saying goodbye and you're saying everything you need to say, do everything you need to do, you come to a point where you sit there and you go, it's time to say goodbye. You don't need to say anything else because you said it all. Sometimes it might even make you feel a bit guilty that you're not smoking anymore. You know, everything it's done for you. I mean, think about it. Yes, it's made you cough and choke and stuff, but that's just the cigarette toxins and the chemicals, right? But the nicotine's not. The one that's giving you comfort, sitting there and is always there, is not. A bit like a bad friend, where everyone around you says they steal, they rob, they hurt, they're no good, they'll backstab you and stuff, but to you, they've never done that to you. They're totally different people to you. It's like talking to two different people. So when the doctors and the professionals turn around and say it's bad for you, they hurt you, it's no good for you, it'll make you ill. And you're sitting there thinking, well, hang on, when I'm ill, they're the only people there. When I'm ill, the cigarette's the one there comforting me. When I'm ill and crying or depressed and crying, it's there, right? Think about it. It's always there. It's always with you. It becomes part of you. So we've got to separate that now, and we've got to say, right, I'm breaking up with you. We're no longer an item. We're no longer a part of each other. You're no longer a smoker. You're separating yourself from that environment. You don't want it no more. It's been wonderful while it's lasted. There's been some bad times, some good times. But now it's time that you don't want this no more. You don't want the smell. You don't want the yellowness in the house. We have to paint. You know, forget the money and the savings, and because before you know it, something will take over that money and take it, and then you won't see the benefit anyway. So we'll just forget about that. So now we've got to go through bereavement. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever looked after a sick loved one? Have you seen the difference between someone who goes through the process of the loved one getting sick, them looking after them, going in and out of hospital, staying in hospital, doing that routine, and then them passing, to someone who passes like Says, see you in a while, goes out the door and you don't see him again. See how we react to that. The people that are long term, that have been nurturing their loved ones, talking to their loved ones, coming to terms, both of them coming to terms that one's not going to be there forever in the flesh and they're going to be there in the spirit world. They start to talk about that and it gives them a certain comfort. To a person that says, see you tonight, and you never do. So this is what we, in our minds, have to deal with, is a bereavement, a separation of a friendship, a kindness. And yeah, I get it. Physically and emotionally is two different things. The chemicals in the cigarettes are kicking our asses. But the nicotine isn't too bad. It's just an addictive substance that, you know, slowly we can get off. So, come the first night. Got a bath, got ready for bed, brushed my teeth. And there it was. Maybe I should just have one more. But you see, I looked at it sitting there right next to my vape. And I said to myself, I could have that whenever I want to, really. I'll choose the vape. And I went outside and I vaped. The same amount of time as I would a normal cigarette. I come back, put it right next to the cigarette, looked at the cigarette and said, if I want to, I can light it up. But I don't. I'm fine, I'm happy. Then I stuck a chewing gum, which you can do lozenge or whatever, patch, whatever works for you. Talk to your Stop Smoking Clinic. That'll be the best bet. They'll help. This is my way. This is how I am doing it. Okay? I've been a month without smoking. And I'm still going through all the crash burn cravings and stuff. But that's because I've also got bowel disease, so I'm going through that as well. Some of you might cough and stuff. I have not yet had anything like that, coughing or choking or spluttering or coughing black stuff, but you might. That's why you need to go and see Stop Smoking Clinic. You need to get somebody, a nurse or doctor or some kind of person to help you understand what kind of symptoms you're going to go through and talk to them about it, right? This is just extra techniques to try like I am. And it might work for you. I don't know if it will. Don't know if it won't. We're all individuals. But it might. Just try it. If you failed every other time, what's to lose? If it fails this time, you just start up again, right? Now I'm done. So then I lie down, go sleep, wake up. I go in, brush my teeth, wash my face. Then I put the chewing gum in my mouth and I go and put the kettle on. Then I go through the ritual of making a cup of tea. Then I take my vape and there's the cigarette right there. Would you like a cigarette today? Well, I'm feeding the nicotine. I can feel it. So they don't need feeding. I think I'll vape. So then I started vaping. The cigarette just sat there. Then come dinner time. You have a cup of tea, a toast sandwich, whatever. And it's like that. It's like it never, there's no roundness to the end of the dinner. Does that make sense? It's like you have your dinner and it's like there's something missing. So then what I do is I rinse my mouth out with water. Then I stick in a chewing gum. And I sit there and I sit down for 5 minutes and say, what's missing? What is it that I'm missing? And then look at your vape and look at the cigarette. And after you've chewed because don't forget, chewing the chewing gum or putting the patch on is to feed the nicotine. It's not to deal with the body and the emotions. That's another thing we're dealing with in another way. The only thing we're using the Nicorette patches, the Nicorette chewing gum, or the Nicorette lozenges, or the vapes, is to feed the nicotine. That's it. Okay? Let's not make it more than what it is. Let's be truthful. That's all it is. So, willpower doesn't come into it if you don't need it. If you've already decided that you're going to go through the bereavement of losing your friend, your best friend, the only thing that's ever there constant in your life that'll never walk away, but could run out. Remember that. So you're going to feel a bit abandoned. You're going to feel a bit guilty as well. You know, it's been there for you all this time. But every time I had that cigarette there, it was my choice. Now imagine if you're sitting there and you've got your vapes and you've got everything else, but the one thing you haven't got is your cigarettes. They're down the shop. So now you can't get your hands on them. And even if you didn't want to, now you're being forced to stop smoking. And 99.999 of us, if we're honest with ourselves, that's what makes us fail. Because how dare anyone tell us what we can and can't do? Right? So, it's always been the case. People with brown eyes want blue eyes. People with straight hair want curly hair. People with curly hair want straight hair. So, you're a smoker, then you're not a smoker. Why should you deny yourself? Maybe just one. But it's up to you. The thing you've got to remember, it's up to you. You're the one that decided to start. You're the one that decided to carry on. You're the one that's deciding when to not have one and when to have one. All this idea of quitting, stopping it completely, getting rid of it, all these negative terms, we weren't born with it. We're not going to be affected in any way, it not being in our lives. Although we make it that way because we bring it into our lives as part of us, we've got to go through the bereavement of that. But that's emotional. We've got to stick to the facts. It helps. And the facts are, the only thing addicted about that cigarette is the nicotine. And we're already feeding that with the stuff that we've got to hand. We're already talking to the professional stop smoking teams. Like, what else could we do for the nicotine? What else can we do? Because it's nicotine. Then we look at the toxins. Our body is aching. It's hurting. Not because it wants the cigarette, but it wants to get rid of the toxins. We've got to let that happen. When you've got flu, you don't sit there and go, I don't want it, I'm not having it. You go through it, and then you get better. So look at it as that. Your body's going through like a flu-like symptoms. You're going through detox. But your mind isn't. You're still allowing nicotine to be fed. Now, if you're going cold turkey, good luck. You're braver than I am. So now you've fed your nicotine, all you've got to worry about is that your body's about to go through detox. So then you talk to your professional or talk to a doctor or anybody and say, okay, I'm going through a detox. Is it painful? Is it dangerous? Could it be dangerous? What should I do if it is? How do I see the danger signs of a detox? What kind of stuff will I see? What can I do if this happens, that happens? Find the worst that can happen and find the best that can happen. Then that prepares you. So when you start to burn up or sweat, you're not going to get scared. When your legs are shaking like Elvis Presley, or your hips are moving like a belly dancer, you're going to sit there and go, it's just detoxing, my body's just getting better. It's fighting. And then what I want you to do is visualize that your soldiers are bounding down there and cleaning out your liver, cleaning out your kidneys, cleaning out your lungs, because it all affects it. And it's cleaning out your stomach. And then soon enough, all that's going to go away and you're going to feel light. So then accept it. Don't fight it. See, the longer you prolong fighting it, the longer it's going to hurt. So what I want you to do is, when you get like that, is I want you to put your favourite music on, or your favourite book, audio book. I don't want you to physically read. I want you to be able to close your eyes and just go into a different world. I want you to separate your body from your mind. See, as your mind's going to be the same because you've had the nicotine, it's not going to crave. You don't need that stick. You're getting nicotine safely. Right? It's safe. You're feeding that addiction. And that's what you've got to say to yourself and remember. The cigarette is not the nicotine part you need, because you're already getting that. So then you've got to sit there and say to yourself, hang on, if I've got the nicotine and that's the addictive part, what would I want with a cigarette? You wouldn't, because you're putting it in a different way, right? So then you're sitting there and you're amongst your friends and they're laughing and joking outside on their lunch break or their break, and they're having a smoke break. Why can't you? Why are you avoiding it? Why should you avoid it? What possible reason do you have to not go out on a break? You deserve a break like everyone else. They call theirs the fag break. Couldn't you call yours the vape break? So what I suggest you do is, when they're having a fag break, go out with them. Take your vape and your nicotine out of a patch, or a lozenge, or a chewing gum. Then what I want you to do is sit out there and enjoy the chat. Pull in the cigarette. Enjoy the chat. Because remember, now you're covering all your bases. You've got the nicotine being fed by your brain at the time everyone else is getting theirs fed through their stick. You're getting your the sensation of inhaling and exhaling and having something in your hand and the up and down movement, and you're having a chill out with your friends like you always do. There's no need to change, because to me, you start changing your routine, you're just denying the inevitable. See, it's about how I looked at the cigarette that made me think twice about doing it the way people say, avoid, avoid, avoid. And I was like, but if I avoid, when don't I avoid? When you're strong enough. Strong enough for what? You see, if my nicotine's being fed, that's the addiction part. That's the part of the cigarette you need. It's not the stick. So therefore, that's already being fed. So what is it? What is left in that cigarette that would make me need it? Apart from the nicotine. But that's already taken care of. But my need is to associate with my friends and go out with them when they're having a drink and having a meal. So use the vape. See, eventually, you could actually use a vape just for that and have no nicotine in it whatsoever. But you see, you're weaning yourself off the nicotine after you've realised that you don't need the cigarette. There's no point in going cold turkey and letting your body go through horrific side effects and cravings and everything like that. So you end up putting weight on, you end up becoming agitated, you end up... What for? Why? You've got all this stuff that you can get to feed the addiction part. And the milligrams go down gradually, which you can do in time. The whole point is to separate us from the cigarette, right? So how do we, instead of stopping the actual act of smoking and everything, how do we just let it go? How do we take out the badness of it and just have the thing that doesn't harm us, but without making a big change? So, nicotine addiction, done, sorted. You're not going to feel any withdrawals in that. You can't. If you're starting to feel withdrawals in the nicotine, it means it's not strong enough. And then go back. Don't give up. Go back to your professional and say, listen, the nicotine I'm taking for some reason isn't strong enough. I'm not being satisfied. But you've got to separate the cigarette. Remember, you've got the chemicals and the toxins, and then you've got the non-invasive nicotine that is the addiction. The cigarette's not the addiction, the nicotine part is. But you're not stopping the nicotine, are you? Not yet. You're stopping the smelly part, the disgusting part, the dangerous part. So what's the difference? If you use this and intake nicotine a different way than it is using one stick every 5 minutes with poisons and toxins. You need to administer it in a different way. So you need to tell your body. You look at your cigarette and you say, that cigarette's got loads of toxins in and everything like that. Do I really need that when I've got nicotine patches, nicotine gum, nicotine lozenges, nicotine vapes? Do I really need the cigarette? Well, let's have a look. What kind of toxins are in a cigarette? Is any of them addictive? The answer to that is no. It's the chemicals. So if it's not, what is addictive in that cigarette that makes us really want that cigarette? And the answer to that is plain and simple. It's not the nicotine. Or it's not just the nicotine that's addictive. What's addictive is the routine. Is the friendship that you've made with your cigarette. And only a smoker will understand that. Only a smoker will understand the comfort and the friendship that a packet of cigarettes brings you. Because you're never alone. It's always there for you, right? Through thick and thin, worse or good. It's the friend nobody likes. It's the friend that everyone shuns. And when you're with that friend, everyone shuns you. Looks at you different, right? So that's the way I see it. So how do I get to satisfy the craving? Well, the craving is the nicotine, so we've got that covered, haven't we, guys? Right. The second thing is the socialization, the routine. We can still have that routine. Don't change it. People say, go out and bike ride. Do you bike ride when you're smoking? If you do, good. If you don't, why are you going bike riding? Why are you doing something different? Well, I like to sit in front of a TV with a packet of crisps, a chocolate bar and a cigarette. Okay, have your packet of crisps, your chocolate bar and your vape. use it in the You can even buy vapes that actually look like a cigarette. Get one of them. Most people go for all these fancy doo-doo vapes, but actually this was actually to help people stop smoking and stop the toxins going into the air. So let me ask you a question. Get one that looks like a cigarette. Because like I said, what is stopping smoking? It's not. It's not giving anything up. What we're doing is changing the way we're administering what we need and what we want. We want that comfort. We want that friendship. We want that nicotine because we're addicted. So instead of getting rid of the addiction, getting rid of the friendship, going through a divorce, going through just going through everything in one go, because it'll only last 2-3 weeks. That's why we fail. The way I've looked at it is plain and simple. I just got to administer it different. All I'm doing is taking away and stopping the toxins. That's it. That's all I'm doing. I'm not stopping anything else. I'm not quitting anything else. I'm just quitting the toxins. Because what is smoke? Smoking. What is it? So, get one that looks like a cigarette if you're struggling with these sort of things. Because I struggle. When I first took it and I was doing this, I was like, it's not working. No, because it was this motion I wanted. This feeling where my hand felt comfortable. See? Done. Relax. There's no panic. Your nicotine is being taken care of by you and your specialist. Your vaping is just another way of your comfort. Have your cigarettes always around you, the box of cigarettes, the packet of roll-ups. Don't hide. Just make a choice. Every moment of every day, make a choice. When you go to smoke, look at your vape, look at your cigarette and ask yourself, what's that cigarette got that that vape hasn't got? Toxins, lung disease, all that lot. So what has that cigarette actually got that you haven't already covered? Think about it. You've got the nicotine, right? That's covered. That's comfortable. Now you've worked with your NHS smoking specialist or your smoking specialist if you're in America. Now the stop smoking clinic you've worked with, right? So now you've got the nicotine in the right dose. That's comfortable. So now we've got to deal with the bereavement. But you're not exactly breathing all of it because it's still there at any time. And that's the important bit you need to tell yourself. Actually, because a lot of people say, I've got to hold myself accountable. I've got to stop myself from smoking. It's important. I've got to stop smoking. No. It's your choice every moment of every day. So for you to get rid of everything so you can't get your hands on it makes it impossible for you to pass, to not fail, because you're denying. We don't stop. When people say stop smoking, you're not stopping anything. We're just changing the way we're administering the things we like. That's all you need to look at it. So, welcome to part 2. Thank you for watching. This is Chipmunk Guardians Adventures. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to make it to 1,000. And if you enjoy these videos, please comment down below, and I shall see you